Alright, so for the sides of the Jack Daniels guitar, I need to age the oak so that it looks like the barnwood back. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to make a mix of a stain that'll give me this aged look. So essentially what you need here is a container, some steel wool, and some white vinegar. And this will bring out the tannins in the wood. So what I'm going to do is going to take this 0000 steel wool, cut it up, I'm going to pour some vinegar in it, and this will help age my oak. And the longer you let this sit, the darker this stuff will get. And so this is, again, playing around, figuring out how to do this right. We'll cut up about half of this. What's great, if this stuff is too dark, you can just dilute it with water. So that's about half the steel wool. We'll get this white vinegar. We filled this up about halfway. Shake this up, get it nice and coated everywhere. The vinegar will break down the steel. We'll have to thin this before we put this on, but you can see slightly it's darkening up a little bit. Leave the cap on so this doesn't explode. So it's on, but it's loose. We'll let this sit for 24 hours. We'll come back. The longer you let it sit, the darker this will get. And it doesn't need to be perfect, because in this, it does have some of the lighter coloring from when I sanded it off slightly. Alright, so then next up, I brewed some tea. And you need two pieces to this. You need the tannins in the tea to react to the steel in the vinegar. So I took 4 tea bags in some hot water for about 20 minutes. Poured it into here. What you're going to do is you're going to dip your cut off t-shirt in. And of course we're going to test on some scrap. And this is pretty light. You can go much darker with the tea. But this is just a piece of quarter sawn oak. These are Lipton decaffeinated tea bags. We use this for the summer for our iced tea. Then I've got my vinegar and steel wool. Just going to use the same rag here. Again, we're playing, testing. Get this nice and soaked. I know you're supposed to let this sit, but I just went right on here, and you could see it did slightly darken up from side to side. So let's do that over. That's pretty cool. So let's get a little bit darker here. You can see the tea reacting. It is definitely getting darker here. I think I would use more tea bags here. As I keep rubbing this around, it's getting darker, which is good. See specifically right here how much darker this has reacted. So for what I want to do on this body, I don't need it to darken a lot, but I just need it to react so that it doesn't look like fresh wood. So what we'll do is we'll just let this sit. I'll let it dry. I'll come back with one more vinegar here. Shake this up. I let this sit for 24 full hours, maybe even 36. You can see it's starting to break down slightly. Leave the cap slightly loose so it doesn't explode. And look how much darker that wood is. That's pretty significant now that it's reacting. So here you can see, this is about 3 hours later, how much this is darkened up. So this is actually perfect. If I take a little bit of sandpaper and clean it up, it'll sort of give me that aged but new look. So that works out pretty good. I'm actually really happy with the gray weathered look from this. So if I sand that a little bit, should get pretty close to the weathered barnwood look on the sides, because it just looks way too new. And then the top here doesn't need anything, but the sides just need to be cleaned up and aged slightly. So I need to distress the sides here slightly, and I've got my rasp, and we'll just take this and run this back and forth, and I'll just keep these sides looking a little bit more aged in line with the back and the top. You can see how much distressing is happening here. We just want the sides to look slightly similar. It doesn't have to be perfect. But we'll just get it cleaned up so it looks good. So we'll rough up the edges with the different sets of tools here. And then I was playing around with this solution on a couple different types of wood. And this is some flamed babinga. And what I did is I just took the steel wool and dropped it on there. And I don't think I need the tea. So I've got a paintbrush. And all I'm going to do is take that vinegar and steel wool solution and just paint it on the sides. So I want to make sure I don't get it on the top, that I just get on the sides. That's why I'm using a paintbrush. We'll go ahead and just apply this. You can already see how it's starting to age on the top there. Apply to the sides, at least to the bottom. What's nice about aging the wood with the chisels and the rasps is that when I go back and sand this, I'll have sort of a different look across the wood. So we'll go ahead and fast forward this. And so I've only been doing this about 5 minutes, and you can see what a rapid change this takes on the wood in this picture here. So within 5 minutes I'm already getting it to show. So we'll just paint over that one spot. And there you go. There's 24 hours later. It's nice and dark. It actually looks a little bit goofy. So we need to go back and take all these different tools and again sand it up, scrape it up, make it look a little bit more inconsistent than what it looks right now. You could see exactly where the tannins are in that piece of wood that is perfect versus you know, the barrel wood and the barnwood back. And then this flap sander, sort of sanding pad, worked out really well. Got it to age the sides real nicely and took off just a layer of the wood. So that new wood has so much more tannins in it than the old wood that's been sort of worn away. So really happy with the way this turned out. This will sort of fade as it ages even more. But thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next vid.